All right, so I'm back in the shop. I've been picking away, hour here, half hour there, things like that. I'm on like a day, 8 days to go time on this thing. So, oh my God, we're gonna lose the shop. But no, so I always wanted to say that. I left off with working on the transfer case, showing the painted chassis and everything like that. I got windshield on. Um, That's kind of fun. Got all the hardware painted for that and put together. I got, oh man, we're gonna spin you around, get you dizzy here. I've got toolbox mounted, fuel tank mounted, battery box mounted in there. I got the first side panel on. I got the tail lights in the rear roll. I'm gonna call it a roll pan because it's got like the cool radius of, pickup truck hot rod roll pan. First side plate put in. I could literally screw all the other side plates in, but they just get in the way. So getting everything kind of just picked away at. A little bit here, a little bit there. Assembly should actually go pretty quick. It's just a matter of bolting in the floor pans and putting in the seats, running some new battery cables, and addressing a fuel line situation. Zip tie up some hoses, things like that, check clearances. I still got to air up my shocks. I got a buddy of mine that's a HVAC guy. He can charge them with nitrogen so I can set the ride height. But that's not what this video is about. This is not an update video. What this video is about is clocking an NP205 flat behind a Turbo 350. And I'm using the JB Fab twin stick, not their cable system, just their linkage stick system. And then I'm using a Northwest Fab clocking plate. I did find they had that lasered in the last video. I was like, I don't know who made it, but I've got their clocking adapter in. And then I believe, I don't know whose rear brace I'm using. I can't find the box for it. I bought it a year ago. I should have put it in a year ago because it probably would have saved me from busting the transfer case adapter. But got that all welded up and fit the other day as well when I was in the shop before I painted everything. So I'll give you a once over on the lowdown on this system. So here it is, fully assembled and ready to get put back in the Jeep. So in the last video, I mentioned the cracked adapter plate. We got cracks there. We got more cracks right here, and some pretty impressive cracks, like right there at my thumb. That all wraps right around this thing. It's garbage, right? So it's garbage because when I bounced this thing off of a wall at the Badlands and landed flat on the skid plate's belly pan, this big pig decided to try and keep going south. That would be down. Because I didn't have an auxiliary or a secondary brace on it. So the way I've got everything mounted, I've got it mounted to a crossbar, transmission bar, going side to side on the chassis, and then I've got bushings on the outboard side of that cross member. You can see right out by the frame rails, there's the bushings. Got one of those on each side, and then that brace actually fits down into that pocket right there. So that's all I'm mounting the tail of the transmission and the front of the transfer case. Then between my seat braces, this is new. Well, all this is new, but the bushing for that third member, or third mount, I don't know what we want to call it, goes in right here. You'll see online, a lot of guys run it rather than a fore and aft bolt through the bushing, they run a side-to-side bolt. I did not have any bars in here to locate that. In hindsight, I could have put 2 bars and located it there. I haven't figured out necessarily how this is going to screw me, but it very well could. On the install of this, I might have to actually take that off, put it in, put the transfer case in, and a bunch of monkeying around. So we'll see how bad I screwed up on that. Maybe don't follow this design. Back to the transfer case though. All right, so okay, again, I don't know whose this is, but it is infinitely adjustable. So when you buy this, it could be off-road design, couldn't tell you. You get this half moon piece right here that locks into 4 bolt holes of the tail shaft of the transfer case. Then you get this bracket here, which is like 4 inches longer, and you tack this together. You can roll this piece along this radius, so you can choose at what angle. You can also choose where this bolts to the transfer case, because all the bolt holes here on the back are dimensionally the same, so you can move, you can just keep clocking it around the transfer case. I chose this location because I needed it to get shot off at an angle to get everything in line and keep this underneath my seat elevation. So that's how I chose to locate this. Welded it all up. It came with a brace. So yeah, this piece here is separate from this piece here and separate from that piece there. And then they ship a brace. Well, this guy here, in their vision of it, the right way probably, is supposed to be spun 90 degrees and would butt up to this plate with just a butt weld, and then they send a cute little coped piece that matches this, and you would brace it all in. So I had to get a little creative to do it the way I did it. So, you're modifying things. Everything's made for a custom application, and this was a great kit to work with. The JB Fab Twin Stick has served its purpose real well. I'm on I think this will be season 3 with this system coming up. So I got 2 years of runtime on it. First year, the transfer case was not clocked. It was in its normal position. All these brackets and everything lined up great. Season 2, I had clocked the transfer case flat using that Northwest Fab adapter plate. And I had to get creative while everything was in the Jeep. Hard to work with. I made some real ugly cuts and things. The reason you got to get creative is this shift rail in a normal run position is way down here, and it's also closer. This had a bend in it, if memory serves me right. I might actually have it now installed upside down. I don't remember exactly what the original piece looked like. This guy over here, I actually didn't have to modify that much. I didn't have to cut anything off of it, but I did have to extend it down because, again, this shift rail should be about 3 inches lower, coming in line roughly with this linkage. So this one was pretty easy. Just reuse the original mount on it. This linkage here, the driver's side stick, we're looking at everything backwards, but the driver's side stick is for your rear axle. And that just needed an extension bracket. I made a bracket out of a trailer tongue jack bracket for like a fishing boat trailer. Remember, I work at a trailer shop, so we got weird crap like that laying around, and it actually married up and locked in good. It's got nice engagement. That has worked out flawless. This one for the front axle required a heck of a lot more work. So it's pretty ugly still, but it's functional. And I'm probably going to get a hold of JB Fab and get he makes like 3 or 4 versions of this piece with this bracket. One, I've got he makes, I think, 2. All right, phone's starting to die. He makes 2 for the rear axle, and he makes 2 for the front axle, whether you got equal length or different length shift rails, the 2 different styles. So I'm going to get a hold of him, see if he'll ship me all 4 of the different linkages and play with different versions of that. Maybe I can create a combination that doesn't involve like this stack of hardware to get the linkage drop back down. So if one of his off the shelf works, I'll do an update and then people would know what to order from him. And then this guy here, another chunk of that trailer tongue jack stuff, I had bolted it in, and this flat here keyed into the front flat of this stainless steel lever bracket. I did not weld it originally, and it was just slopping back and forth a little bit, especially the harder I worked it. And it was getting worn out. So bolted it all back together, cleaned it up, squared it up, and I welded this tab to this part of the linkage rod handle. And that gets me over roughly the 1.5 inches, because as the transfer case clocks up, it also moves the shifter away from the center pivot point here. So that was my best solution. We could put a longer tab on it and maybe get over, but I've still got elevation issues. So this worked. This got the job done. So if anybody out there is looking at running the JB Fab twin stick and the Northwest Fab clocking plate on a 205 with a Turbo 350, you can accomplish it with a long bolt, a few nuts stacked up. This is all tightened together to actually run like a sleeve more than hardware, and a couple little tabs and trinkets welded up. So literally, if the transfer case is on the floor, the average person could probably do this in an hour of dinking around and messing with stuff, sorting it out. I know when I first did it, it was like a 2.5 hour nightmare trying to do it under the Jeep, but that system works pretty good. Maybe I'll tag JB Fab in this video, and he could whip up some linkages. I don't know how popular it is to clock a 205 flat, but if it is, it is. Couple things I also ran into, and then I'll wrap this up. So it's hard to find the the oil seals for the adapter. And after a whole bunch of searching around and trying to cross-reference some bad part numbers, this is National Oil Seals 471424. This is the oil seal for the NP205 adapter to a Turbo 350 without the locking ring style. That one's got the bearing in it and the locking ring. It could have different seals. This one does not have the bearing nor the snap ring, so this is the proper seal for it. After some more Googling and looking at it, there's an O-ring on the input shaft of the 205. This O-ring, after doing a little research, is actually the culprit of a lot of oil issues of pumping trans fluid into the 205. And I'd had this thing in and out a few times. I've messed with it over the last couple of years. I always knew I had a oil transfer issue, and finally I'm dealing with it. Everything was leaking so bad with the cracked transfer case adapter that I just said screw it, and I just kept pouring oil and everything. This O-ring is hard as a rock and flat, so I could probably, well, it's not going to snap. Now it's softening up a little bit, but there's nothing to this thing. It's garbage. And this supposedly is the culprit of the oil leaks, the major oil leaks between the trans and transfer case. A lot of guys are saying it's actually not the seals, but I do not have this part number. I had a $50 seal kit, rebuild kit for 205, and thank God that O-ring was in there, because nobody can find this O-ring anywhere in a parts lookup. So if you have this part number, that would be awesome. Share it in the comments. But this guy, this 471424 National Oil Seal, is the correct seal for this adapter combination. So finally, I think I provided some useful information for people, that this system works. I have proven it that clocked like this with the shift rails or shift linkages adapted like this worked just fine. You could do a better job of it and maybe not have to weld it. key it into the rails better, use 2 bolts or something like that. But ultimately welding it, lock that thing up tight, or nice and tight. So the next step is to pop this up into the Jeep. I'm not doing that tonight. I'm gonna wait till the wife's over here, hopefully tomorrow night, and she can help me not crush myself with a transfer case, because I've got this cute little come along off of a soft shackle on the roll cage down to a pulley down there, and we're gonna crane it into place. So I don't have a floor jack or a trans jack that goes high enough to actually put this thing in. When I put it in the last time, me and another guy physically wrestled it up there, had it propped on a floor jack with like 3 blocks of wood, and we just about died. We should have died. But so yeah, I'm gonna try and crane it into place, and hopefully that works. But thanks for watching. If you have any input on the 205 Turbo 350 adapter stuff to add it into the comments. I'd love to learn more about it. Maybe you got a better way to slice the bread on this thing for me, and I'll give you an update on how bad I failed on the auxiliary support on the tail shaft, and let you know how bad it is to put in. I might just have to remove it, put the transfer case in, put that thing back in, which is kind of going to suck, because if it's full of oil, the bottom bolt hole, all the oil comes out. So thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Throw some comments out there for me on this one if you could, and check back for the install.